What was it? You know, I just said, pick one. What was it that you liked so much about that person? You know, what difference did that make in your life? How has that made you a better person, if you will? And even if that person were here, what would you want to say to that person? In other words, there's a gratitude piece to that. When we look at who we are who we are, not by our own doing. I mean, I've struggled my whole life trying to figure out this whole thing about leadership and success and what's it really all about and why am I here? And even the most fundamental questions I can't answer. Like, I have no idea why I am the age that I am. I never thought I'd be 30 years old, let alone where I am right now. Yeah. I have no clue why my skin is white. I have no clue why I'm a boy. You know what I mean? This life was just given to me. Somehow I was placed in a family somewhere. And then life had impact on me. You know, I'm grateful for the gift of kind of looking around and trying to absorb as much as I possibly could. And I think losing my dad, I think I probably looked real hard to find people in our community who seemed to be neat people, and what can I glean from them? What can I learn? And I'd say a lot of the people I was mentored by weren't even aware that they were mentoring me at all, but their example made such a huge difference. I'm so grateful to them. It's like if I knew I only had another hour to live, what would I like to do? I'd like to talk to so many people and just thank them for the influence that they've had on me in my life. And I'll be honest with you, I think because of that perspective, I probably had an opportunity above and beyond to impact a lot of other people's lives as well. Does that make sense to you? And say yes. Or no. You can disagree with me, it's okay. I won't like you, but you can disagree with me, it's all right. Well, one of the things at the end of that homework assignment that I said is, what is the message, or what is the value? You know, you look at who are the people who deserve to be mentored by you. Some of you are managing people that are older, younger, in your own age. Some of you are not. Some of you have families now. Some of you are thinking about starting families. And you think about who are the people that really deserve to be mentored by you today? And what is that value, or what is the message that you would want people to hear from you? Yeah. So let me just hear. Probably whatever you tell me is something that probably you gleaned from someone else. And I heard a few of these as we were doing that little mixer exercise. But what are the messages that come out of you that you have to offer to other people? What value would you impart on the world if someone said, hey, listen, I'm watching you? What would be that message for you? You can just say it real loud. Patience. So the gift of patience. Be patient. Yeah. What else? What would they learn from you, from your perspective? What would it be? Huh?
Be open to new ideas.
Be open to new ideas. What else? Don't stop dreaming. So many people say, stop dreaming. Get down to the brass tacks. Don't stop dreaming. It's a big one. Yeah. What else?
Dependability.
Dependability. Be dependable. Let others count on you. Yeah. Very good. What else? What would it be?
To listen to other people.
Listen to other people. Yeah. Not just to the music, maybe listen to the lyrics as well as the music, huh? Really listen. And then what did I hear?
I say honesty, but especially with yourself.
Yeah, honesty, especially with yourself. I love that. You know what? I love acknowledging that I am weak enough to serve other people. That was a crazy paradigm shift in my mind to get. I used to think you had to be so strong to be able to lead or to do anything. And my huge fear in life, I mean, if there's a top 1/10 of 1% of all the population who's been afraid their whole lives of speaking in front of people, you're looking at them. I was scared to death my whole life. I'd get so nervous, even out of college. I could be at church, and when people would get up and go to communion, man, I'd have all this agitation happening inside me, scared to death to speak in front of people, until you finally realize that you don't have to be smart enough or good enough or strong enough, you know, to stand up and be counted. You just got to be weak enough. Weak enough to learn from other people. Does that make sense? Yeah? What else? What other message do you have inside you? What value is important to you? Well, humility. Huge, huge thing. And attractive, I might add, huh? Yeah. What else?
Positive.
Be positive. The world is full of people who are not so positive, yeah. So that's a real refreshing thing to stand out, yeah. Here's the deal. I can't tell you. I think that we have to stand for something. And, you know, one of the lessons I learned too late in life is that I need to understand myself as a whole person, as a human being, as a whole person. I don't know how it is with the rest of the world, but in this society, over 80% of the illness and disease people experience is somehow or another related to what? It's related to stress. Stress just simply means our wheel is out of round, our wheel is out of balance. Let's see if I haven't got a slide here. And you've all got a handout in front of you. Yeah, if you have a handout in front of you, just, boy, there should be on the table. It'll just say personal vision, becoming an indispensable leader. And it'd be great for you to just put a pencil to this, just make this a little clinic for you. But on this, is that a pointer? Very good. You know, I just would have done anything if someone would have told me this like maybe 40 years ago. It would have been so helpful for me. But if you look at people around the globe today, it's generally accepted that you could look at a human life in any culture today and it's made up of the same 6 or 7 or 8 pieces. Now there's a part of every human life is work, whether we're out in the market working or working in the home, but it's work, it's contribution, it's making a difference in the world. Part of humanity is it's about fun. You know, sense of humor was a lot of things that came up as people went around the room. Another part of life is our family. Another part is our health. Another part of a human life is the financial part of life. You know, I had nobody who ever really shared this with me, and yet if I spent the rest of my life trying to teach one thing, it would be this one wheel. It would be this one wheel. Like, really get clear about who you are, to establish a vision for anybody else. Be clear, first of all, about what's your vision for yourself. What's important to you? What's important to you individually? Let me tell you, I lost my spouse to cancer, and I had no clue what this life was about. All I knew is I married somebody that I was nuts about, and she couldn't wait to be a mom. Although we waited a couple of years, she couldn't wait to be a mom, so we have 3 little ones, and she thought she'd be a stay-at-home mom and that'd make her happy the rest of her life, so she did that. In order for her to do that, where was most of my time and effort spent? Sure, I was here, working financial, figuring out how to work and afford that so mom can stay home. So I worked for one of the most demanding guys in the country. I'm tremendously grateful for him and what he gave me a chance to do and to learn, largely through failure. Yeah? But I didn't know when it's okay to go home. I had no clue. I could see her getting sick. I could see it through bad hair days. I could see it through quietness. I could see it in tears. I could see it in kind of early to bed. I could see her getting sick. And I'm thinking, gosh, what in the world? What am I doing wrong? Maybe I'm not working hard enough. Maybe I'm not making enough money. I don't know what's the problem? You know, it wasn't until it's too late that I finally realized the impact of my focus here in the work part of my life had a tremendous impact on her. I threw this little wheel off so bad for her. I mean, I have some ownership, you know. Cancer responds really well to stress. Really well to stress. So her reality as a mother of 3 little ones at home, and kind of wishing her husband would kind of think it's pretty cute that she's doing that, but her reality was this. I hate to admit it, but it's true, but there weren't 10 times. Not 10 times in a year, Monday through Saturday, not 10 times in a year, Monday through Saturday, was I ever at the breakfast table. By the time everybody got up, where was Dad? How's it work? And this is true. There weren't 10 times in a year, Monday through Friday. Not 10 times in a year was I ever at the dinner table Monday through Friday. I wouldn't have even thought about going home for dinner. I mean, I'm thinking like, man, we got troubled companies going on. We're working 24 hours a day. My goal every day was see if I could get home by bedtime.
You know, why am I here? You know, because I didn't understand where my value add was in terms of directing that individual. You know, passing on my knowledge to free me up in order to go into brand new areas. So delegation is really, really hard to do for new technical people. And I do a 4-day course on management for IT individuals. And the interesting thing is we spend a short period of time on delegation. And every single time, it's that little segment on delegation which is always seen as the most important element in all of this. Because people find it very hard to do. But if we learn how to delegate, there are great benefits. The benefits are, firstly, it allows you to do the role you're supposed to be doing. But you're also empowering other people, you know? That's what empowering is. You're transferring that knowledge. You're giving them abilities. You know, you're coaching their performance so they can, you know, elevate inside their area as well, which allows you to elevate as well. You know, so it has some very long-term benefits there. But how do you delegate? Well, it's not particularly difficult, you know? The first thing we've got to do is discuss what is it we're doing. Give the person the big picture. You know, what are we actually trying to do and achieve? What's the scope of what we're doing? We've got to identify the team members involved, you know, and tell them why they're doing. How will their work fit together? You know, why is this important in terms of the overall project? You know, we have to give them the right tools, the right resources to get the job done. Nothing infuriates team members more than the fact that they do not have the resources to get the job done. And what's the job of the manager? To get those resources. Because otherwise, you're doing the work with one arm tied behind the back. You know, so your idea is to hustle and get those resources in play over there. You've got to play to people's strengths. That's one key way of motivating people. It sounds so simple. Play to their strengths, not their weaknesses. You know, I'm using you on this job because you have this strength, you have this knowledge, you have this capability, or you know what, I think you could do this job really well, we want to elevate you in terms of your capabilities. But you've got to play it to their strengths. But once you've given them the work, what you mustn't do, which people often do when they're new to this, is they start micromanaging. Micromanagement is not required. Macro management is required. This is the goal. This is the expectations. This is what I am going to do to support you in achieving your task. You have to make that explicitly clear as well. What are you going to do to help them? You know? Are you just going to say, here you go on a Monday, goodbye, I'll see you in 4 weeks' time. You better get it done. Or are you going to help and assist, you know, when they have problems and when they have those sorts of issues as a result? You know, you set that tone. I worked in one organization very briefly where the gentleman who ran this organization had a very, very fierce, incredibly fierce personality. And because of this, what happened is that nobody would go to this gentleman because they were scared of him. You know, his language, etc., everything was wrong. And so what he didn't realize was the impact he'd make as a result. Because when someone had a problem, they'd say, right, I'm going to fix it, I'm going to fix it, I'm going to fix it, as opposed to saying, I need to take it to this individual because I don't want to be barked at. Now, what happened was because he didn't get that input from that manager, the problem got bigger and bigger and bigger and more out of control. And then he had to go to that individual, at which point he got the barking. But what this guy didn't realize was that he had set that tone for that team. You know? So it's about that macro management you have in there, not that micro. It's also about how we're going to follow up on all of this. You know? One observation I've had in no matter which industry I've been in, you know, a lot of people do projects. How many of them do the lessons learned at the end? We skip it. Yeah? You know, not many organizations do the lessons learned very effectively. There are some, but not many. Because they're always skipping it. They're always trying to go to the next kind of project. But actually, there's a whole wealth of knowledge in what we did. If we could exploit that and understand it for the next time, we could do an awful lot better from there. So we need to learn how to delegate effectively. Please. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, can delegation create tension in an organization? The reason why I'm asking that is that if you have two competent guys working under you,
right,
and maybe you're on vacation or course or something, and you give the position to one of them because of acting allowance and leadership roles, one tries to envy the other,
right,
and creates, you know, problem.
It can happen, but then whose duty is it to manage that? The managers again. You know, so you've got to look forward. You know, you've got to think ahead about that. Now, that is a problem on there. There's risks involved in there. You've got to manage those risks. We talked about global remote teams this morning. You know, what I don't want to do in every situation is always offshore it, outsource it. If the project has high risk, whatever you do, do not do that. Do it together. So you've got to make some good value calls in all of this, yeah? It's also about motivating individuals, and there's endless books on how to motivate people. And motivating technical people, in particular, is an interesting kind of area. I mean, we all know giving people money is not the motivation. What else is it, from your own perspective, that motivates you? The challenge of the job. Having a purpose. Feeling valued. Yeah. Why is that important? Can you just elaborate on that?
So I've had jobs before where I don't think they noticed what I was doing or how I was doing it and didn't really care. And when people know and care about what I'm doing, I feel more motivated to do a better
Absolutely.
job.
Absolutely. I mean, it's sometimes more powerful than money.
Yeah.
It's sometimes...
And I enjoy it more as a result.
Absolutely, yeah. What other factors motivate you? Giving responsibility, new challenges, trying new things. See, everyone has a button. The question is, what is that button? We've got to find that for each and every person. I'll give you one example. There was one gentleman who worked for a friend of mine. And this gentleman he was an IT guy, used to come in the morning with his bags of food, sit down at his desk, and start coding away. And the problem was, he didn't talk to anybody. He worked in isolation. So it created a problem for everybody else on the team. Everyone tried to find this guy's button, and everyone gave up. So we started labeling. He's an introvert, he's a this, he's a that, we'll just give up on him. But my friend tried, and he tried, and he tried. And then he found the button. What was in the bags was food. Food that he cooked and prepared himself. He loved cooking. So they said, well, John, you like cooking. Would it be okay if you brought food in for the rest of the team so they could have some of this as well? I'd love that. And then that was it. That's what broke the ice within there. The point is, everyone has that button. What is that button? How do you go about motivating those people? Because it'll be different for different people, regardless. They may be in different parts of their lives. Some people are getting ready to retire. Some people are new. Some people want that next challenge. They want to find that. So our aim here is to find out what drives them. And I've written here, what drives them? What do they want to achieve? What's their career path? But that's almost a good question to ask ourselves as well. What is it that we want to do in all of this? There are lots of models out there on how to motivate individuals in organizations. And I guess you're all familiar with Maslow. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Yeah? So it's a much studied area, much derided area as well. There are lots of good models out there in terms of motivating people. The problem we have is we try and apply this one-size-fits-all in all situations. But it doesn't really work, I found, because different people have those different, necessities from their jobs, And it's about looking at that and trying to evolve and find it out with individuals. It's about that adaptability in those sorts of situations. Have you come across Hertzberg? What motivates people? What are the hygiene factors? What are the non-hygiene factors? You see, look at the story behind motivation. It all came back from Frederick Taylor, who started, I think it was in a steel mill in Pittsburgh, where he started looking at Taylorism and scientific management and looking at the environment in which we operate, etc. This has moved on in a much different way. And work done by Hertzberg said, well, actually, there are what we have hygiene factors and non-hygiene factors. Hygiene factors which allows people, to elevate in terms of motivation is having a job, having a sense of direction in what they do, given the right resources over there. But what dissatisfies them are, the administration and those sorts of things over there. But some of this research has really gone forward in a big kind of way. And I've studied motivation an awful lot. And the model I like the most around motivation is a model which says there are a number of factors that if we get right, we can enrich people's jobs. The first thing to do is consider this. It's the big picture. Their attitudes to various things. It then creates frictions. It creates problems, as a result. And it's not just cultures, it's language. In the United States, if you go to a meeting and someone says, I want to table a motion, what does that mean? That means you take it off the table. Is that correct? In the United Kingdom, to table a motion means you put it on the agenda. So a British guy and an American company talking together, they're on the phone on the Friday. Yeah, that meeting on Monday that I'm flying to. Yeah, we've tabled the motion. Great, I'll see you there on Monday. He turns up on Monday. What are you doing here? What do you mean? You know, we have those differences in language over there. These all create complexities, you know, in the operating environment. And again, if I go back to what I talked about yesterday, this is not about what we know. It's all about how we go about doing things. And if you don't understand someone else's cultural traits, and it's a reciprocal thing, you know, I need to understand yours, you also need to understand mine for us to, you know, coagulate and work effectively with each other. Without it, we start creating them and us. Now, the point is, there is no them and us. It's us and us, yeah? We've got to work together. The fact that we're in a different, you know, time zone and a different distance, whatever. That's just the way it is. And whatever you have today, your organizations may be offshoring, onshoring, this, that, and the other. I promise you, this is only going to get deeper and deeper and deeper. You know, globalization is happening. Barriers to entry are falling. This is the normal way of working. When 20 years ago, I run a software company. I still run it today. It's a US company based in Rockford, Illinois. I was running the UK ops. I was given a telephone, a laptop with a 26K modem, you know, and a fax machine. I was told, please operate these teams, you know, in India and the US. Oh, and by the way, don't use a telephone, it's very expensive. Really? You know? But actually, if you think about it, that was 20 years ago. How different is it today? Yeah? For some people, it's very different. For others, they're actually not that far away from that. Some of the major organizations I work with, the major way of working is through email. And what happens is email ping pong. Do you know this term? You know, I send you a mail, you send it back, and the small little thing gets escalated into, oh my God. You know? That sort of issues occur over there. So there are complexities involved in this environment. Tell me, does everybody have this sort of situation? You know, this sort of virtual world. It's becoming the norm. What sort of challenges are you facing? What sort of challenges have you seen? Please, sir.
Nobody really talks on the phone anymore.
Nobody really talks on the phone anymore. Yeah, it's like a
Response or you're like, call me back for the answer.
yeah. No, I don't want to pick up the phone. Let me write you an email. You know? So it all becomes email kind of traffic over there. Yes, Cynthia. A virtual leader. Yeah. Right. Yep. Trust. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, trust issues, yeah. And again, you know, wait a minute, it's us and us, isn't it? No. It's them and us, you know? It's the French operating unit versus the US operating unit. It creates all sorts of problems.
I was a virtual leader.
Right.
My entire team was in Pittsburgh. And
Right.
I was operating out of Spokane.
Sure.
And so we would have these monthly project meetings, and I would be there. And
Right.
two guys over there would be there.
Yeah.
And the rest of them were just missing in action.
Yeah. And so when you've got people in that situation, some co-located, some in different places, it's easy to ignore those guys and work with these guys. So at the end, you get these imbalances, you know, between teams as a result. How many of you ever had cultural training? There's 100+ people in this room. 1 hand, 2 hands. Oh, don't put too many up. It destroys my argument. But, but you know, let's say it's 20 hands. You know, but we're working with different cultures, with different people. One of the companies I work for, we're international, we do lots of training, and I came across this American lady who was going to Saudi Arabia. Okay, she was going on the Monday morning, or the Friday. And I said, oh, are you going to Saudi Arabia? I've been to Saudi Arabia an awful lot. Tell me, who's told you what to do? Nobody. Sit down with me, let me tell you what to do. You know, without that, she would have got herself into all sorts of, what do I do now? What happens over here? This, that, and the other. You know, so we need to think about those sorts of challenges. It is different, and it creates frustration. Now, one message I want to say very bluntly, if I may, is this mode of operation isn't for everybody. You know? This mode of operation isn't for everybody. There are some people who are separated from everybody else. You know, they're operating from home. You know, this is a new paradigm for working in. And, you know, not having that daily interaction with others, not having that banter over the coffee area, not hearing the company gossip, you know, you don't feel part of that connectivity in the rest of the organization because this is a transition for us. You know, we need knowledge workers, we need virtual workers, and things will be changing as a result. Now, if you talk about this term, what is virtual You hear different terms, virtual working, virtual remote working, it's the same kind of thing. What this means is people are separated by distance. Now that distance could be literally 5 meters or 5,000 miles, but they're separated by distance, but they're collaborating using technology. Yeah? So the technology is vital. Now we have sophisticated technology right now. You know, we can do FaceTime, you know, on our phones. We have some pretty good technology. But there are other issues around there. You know, can we guarantee that the same technology is in every single place? Are people trained in using the technology? You know, you are, you know, smart, savvy people. Probably you pick up a phone. I know what to do. It's easy. But don't assume that for other people. You know, do not assume that. I mean, if you know Microsoft Communicator, Office Link, they call that. Yes, it's kind of getting deployed everywhere. But you know, one guy, he was an HR director. He said to me, "Oh, please, you know, don't talk about training of these tools. Yeah, come on, they're simple. You know, treat us with respect." Okay, back off, back off. I said, "Listen, come up here and show everybody how to use this tool." Sure. Now have a chat with someone. Show all this. I said, "Now, would you please mind inviting someone to this meeting?" He turned around to me and said, "How do you do that?" Exactly, my friend. You know, if you don't know how to do it, you won't use, you know, that facility, that technology over there. And as a result, if you're not using it, then others don't use it. Now, how do you communicate? You know, how do you communicate as a result? Now, people are doing this in different kind of ways as well. We often think about this in extreme situations, you know, separated by geographies. But actually, a lot of you guys are probably working in a building on separate floors, you know? So you might have someone on floor 1 working with someone on floor 5. Now you have issues. You know, how do you communicate as a result? And I worked for UNICEF, one of the UN bodies, and their office is the most beautiful office you've ever seen because it's in Florence. And in Florence, it's just a big museum. The whole town's a big museum. So in this museum, they had their offices, 14th century palazzo. Now, floor 1 and floor 2 was their offices. But the people from floor 1 could only get to floor 2 by going out, around the building, up the stairs to go to floor 2. As a result of that barrier, nobody ever communicated with each other. You know, they had no FaceTime communications. So it all became death by email, you know, as a result. So the structure of the building creates a problem. I went to an office in India, and my job was to fix the relationship between the Indian operations and the UK operations. I turned up to this building, I look at it, oh my God, it's 12 floors. Are all your guys in there? Yeah, they're all in here. So I started working this team. Ma'am, you know, where do you work? I'm on floor 2. And do you collaborate with this guy? Yeah, I do. What floor are you on? 9. Well, wait a minute, let's forget about India, you know, and the UK. Let me fix this, first of all. What's interesting as well, is the way we're working is different. How many of you are home workers? You operate from home. Yeah? Do you like it? Yeah? Not sure? You like it? When I'm there. Right. Now, you know, now you're seeing increasingly people are being given the option of working from home. It's almost like a benefit, you know? You can get your hair cut, work from home. You probably work longer hours actually at home without, you know, meetings, etc. over there. But this is because you have that choice. What I'm now seeing is companies not giving that choice. You have to work from home. Consultancy firms saying, listen, you know, you work on a project, you know, if you haven't got a project, work at home. Why do we need to put an infrastructure of a building? So I met one guy. Every day, this guy, what he does, he goes, he's working from home, he puts on a nice pair of chinos, a nice shirt, he walks out of his house, he goes around the block, he comes to his front door, opens the door, and says, I'm now going into the office. Because he needed to have that mental delineation between home life and working life. You know? And there are other people, I mean, if you work from home, I don't do it myself, but I know others do it, where they'll just get out in their pajamas, you know, come the evening, they're still in their pajamas, or less, you know, depending on who they are. You know, so everyone is working in this environment in a different kind of way. But what's the rationale? You know, what's the rationale behind doing it? Why do organizations operate in a virtual environment? It's cheaper. Yeah, you hear that? What other reasons? We have to do it. Yeah, we're a global organization. Suppliers demand it. Customers demand it. You know, this is no other way of working.